good to virtually meet you, or it's kind of odd saying that, but I think we're about used to it now. It's so good to potentially see you, but hopefully you can see us and hear us well. Thanks for joining today's presentation with the University of San Diego. My name is Austin. I work for the Office of Undergraduate Admission. I am the admission communication supervisor here, which is just a pretty fancy way of saying that if you get any big emails from USD with typos in them, that is entirely my fault. So I'll do my best to proofread there. But thankfully, I won't be doing the presentation by myself. We have the lovely Fallon Judy with us. So Fallon, why don't you tell us about yourself? And while you're doing that, I'm going to put up the presentation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Fallon, as Austin said. I'm a junior here at USD, majoring in marketing and minoring in communications. And so I'm also from San Bernardino, California, which is about 2 hours away from San Diego. A few things I'm involved in: TORERO ambassadors, so I'm a tour guide. I just joined the golf club on campus, which will start up again next semester. In this Alpha Chi Omega. Awesome. Really happy to be here today with you all.
We're happy to have you too, Fallon. So Fallon and I will be co-presenting today because we wanted you to get kind of the administrative side of it as we go over the application and scholarship process and all the things that you might be looking at when you're looking at USD, but also wanted Fallon to throw in some stories and really what her experience has been like. So Fallon, I can't see you, but can you confirm that you can see the screen, the right presentation right now?
Okay. Yes, I can see it.
Then we will go ahead and get started. And it's actually best to jump back about 70 years into our founding as a Roman Catholic institution. We were founded in the year 1949 by a woman named Mother Rosalie Clifton Hill. She was a part of the Sisters of the Sacred Heart, which is why she has that interesting title of Mother Hill. And you can see a quote by her at the bottom where she talks about establishing the University of San Diego on 3 pillars, which are beauty, truth, and goodness. She believes that beauty would attract people, that they'd come and be inspired by their surroundings. I mean, I wish you could see what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking out my office window and it is just palm trees and green grass and beautiful buildings. So she believes that beauty would attract people. She then thought that they would discover truth through their conversations, their discussions, through curriculum, and really have that goodness imparted upon them. It would be communicated to them by the type of people that were here. And then they'd go and make the world a better place because of that, recognizing that education is a privilege. She wanted our students to go out and be the hands and feet, the people who made that positive impact, who are change makers. And all of that is rooted in that Catholic identity. And so one of the most prominent questions and most questions I get most often, I would say, is, do I need to be Catholic to go to USD? And I like to respond by saying a big piece of being a Catholic school is that there is incredible emphasis on inclusion of all, of the respect of each person, no matter where they're from, no matter what their background, no matter which identities they have. It's all about accepting each human exactly as they are. And a piece of that is saying, you don't have to fit into a specific box to come to USD. You don't have to be Catholic. We are strong in our Catholic faith. 40% of our students identify as Catholic, and you'll see those pieces of Catholicism come throughout your time at USD, but there is no pressure for you individually to be Catholic. So Fallon, I wanted you to actually talk a little bit about that. What has your experience been like going to a Roman Catholic institution, and how do you see this kind of come through in your experience as a student? Fallon, you there?
Me?
Yes, now I can. There we go.
Okay, perfect. So my roommate was super involved in university ministry. And so a lot of the times I would go to mass with her every weekend at the student-led mass. And it was really nice just being able to kind of sit, have some time with her, kind of almost like meditate, listen, and just not even be on my phone for an hour. And I think one of the best parts was that there was always cookies afterwards. But ultimately, the university ministry and just the Catholic community on campus. I went to a Catholic private school for 1 year in elementary school, and I really saw the Catholic tradition there, and I realized that that is something that USD also holds, of just people caring for each other, having a general concern, as well as being committed to each other and kind of having that service attitude went here at USD. And so it's been really great being able to feel like, even though not all the students here are Catholic, they adopt that identity when they come here, and they are really focused on being kind to one another and just being their best self. So I've really enjoyed that portion of campus.
Yeah. Thanks, Vaughn. I appreciate that. And I love that that can resonate with the student who is Catholic, for the student who's still exploring their spirituality or religion, and the student who's just wanting to explore their own personal identities. And that kind of comes through in our overall student population. If we expand it from religion, you can see the wide array of students that come to USD for a multitude of reasons. And you can see that breakdown on the right side of your screen, where we have about 6,000 undergraduate students. So we are a mid-sized university, not too big, not too small. We like to sometimes call it the Goldilocks school. So you'll be able to see people that you know on campus, but always see new faces, people maybe you haven't had a conversation with, people you're wanting to get to know. And it's a really exciting population to get to know. 48% of our students come from outside of California. 60 countries are represented. 38% of our students identify as students of color. 40% of our students identify as Catholic. So you've got lots of options to engage with perspectives that might be different than your own, to be inspired by your surroundings, not only aesthetically and beauty-wise. I mean, you can see that we're ranked the number 6 most beautiful campus in the nation, but also the fact that you'll be inspired by the people around you to really dive deep into who you are and learn, because you're brushing shoulders with them. You're getting to hear that different analysis of a similar situation that you're all discussing together. And so, Fallon, can you tell me about your experience going to a mid-sized university? What has it been like to be able to get to know the students around you in that smaller class size?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I originally really wanted to go to a big school, ended up narrowing it down to a small school, and I'm so happy I chose USD, without even realizing that even though we're this medium-sized school, you meet new people every day, every week, every year in all of your classes, and it's big enough to do that, but it's small enough to really create strong bonds between those students and between your faculty. Like you had mentioned, having those small class sizes, professors really want to interact with the students and they want the students to interact with each other. And so I've been in so many different group projects and even just times in class where the professor says, okay, for like 10 minutes, talk to your neighbor about whatever we are learning about. And it's just really great because I'm able to make friends that way, have even like network, have and just be able to meet new people all the time. And so I've really enjoyed having that kind of community and building that at USD.
Awesome. Thanks, Fallon. And a big part of that, we've talked a lot about the classroom experience. So let's dive deep into this personalized learning. What does it look like to know those students around you, and why is that a benefit for you? So at USD, we're a school rooted in the liberal arts, and perhaps you've heard that phrase before, which is basically just a fancy way of saying that we want you to be developed as a whole person. You'll get to do a deep dive into your majors or your minors. So a lot of our students choose to major and minor. And you can see that we have 42 majors. We have many options for minors. We have some really cool courses too. Like one of our minors at USD is called CHANGEMAKING, or Social Innovation and Peace Building. So these are really kind of newer, more exciting ways to engage with the current world through your minor and your major. But again, through that, you're getting your deep dive into what you're interested in. But a part of the liberal arts tradition is not just getting that deep dive into your specific interest, but also it's getting a very holistic education, one that's well-rounded, so that you take some classes on history, some classes in science, some classes in a foreign language, class in public speaking and communication. Every student at USD will take 2 theology or religious studies courses. So you don't have to believe what's presented in those theology and religious studies courses, but we think it's important that you at least get that as a piece of your overall development and education. And so you get that deep dive, you get the more holistic approach, and those two going together make up a liberal arts institution. And we find this works really well for our students. Not only do they get time to explore, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I wasn't the 17 or 18-year-old that knew exactly what I wanted to major in. I needed some time to figure it out. I wanted to take a class here, or take a class there, and kind of see if that was something that sparked my interest. And so a liberal arts institution allowed me to do that, to get a taste of this, a taste of that. And then when I said, you know, I'm interested in Spanish, and I'm also interested in international business, I was able to double major there. So you have 2 years actually. So you need to declare your major by the second semester of your second year. But until then, you get to explore in those small classes with engaged faculty who are going to get to know you. They'll help advise you. They'll help kind of instruct you on the right courses to take, on the right ways to get involved in the San Diego community and the local communities. And all of that, you can see those rankings across the bottom there. We're one of the youngest universities in the top 100 universities, according to US News and World Report. We have a 13-to-1 student faculty ratio. So if you're picturing college in a big lecture hall where you raise your hand and then 200 people turn around to look at you, that's not the situation at USD, because our average class size is 22. In fact, you will never have a class bigger than 46 students. That's the biggest you'll ever have. So let go of that lecture hall idea and know that you will be very focused on and developing as a whole person. So Fallon, can you tell me a little bit about how you were able to explore through that liberal arts curriculum and how you saw that enhance your experience at USD?
Yeah, absolutely. So with our liberal arts core, we have to take, language and a science. And so semester I actually took chemistry with the science of food and cooking. And so this was a chemistry class. I'm not super STEM inclined, and USD realizes that students aren't always. And so they have these other classes. They have another one called it's like the design of coffee. And so that's another. And what I really liked is that my professor wanted us to really understand chemistry, but she also was so happy that we were trying to understand things in the kitchen as well. And so I felt super accomplished when I was able to tell my parents about how certain food was reacting when I was cooking dinner. And ultimately, it's just a really great way to be able to just experiment in other majors and kind of figure out other things that you might not have realized that you were interested in. Like, I know that, definitely after taking some communication classes, I decided that that's something I wanted to add to my major, and without having to take one communication class as part of our or as part of my core, I wouldn't have known that, and I would have missed out on that opportunity. And so I'm really just grateful for the liberal arts education and the kind of well-roundedness that it gives me with the rest of my
I mean, if
major.
I'm going to take a science class, the science of food and cooking sounds awesome. Like being able to cook for myself, and also what a fun way to experience that, because I'm not exactly STEM inclined either. But I wanted to move in as we go into research, the honors program, and the first year experience, because these are all unique parts of USD and how we dive into academic excellence. We want you to know that any student in any major can do research. I think I grew up with the idea that research was only done in the sciences. That's not the case. I mean, I meet students around here who are doing research in art, in real estate, in philosophy, in a foreign language or the culture of another country. These are the ways that we want you to be able to find your passion and then research it, present it at conferences, receive scholarships, grants, and financial aid in that process to help cover your living costs or to fund your program. So do that research. And actually, our honors program requires our honor students to do research. The honors program, I like to say, it's not necessarily for the smartest kids in the room, it's for the most curious. It's for the students who are asking why. Why is this the problem? How can we solve this? Why is this an already existing problem, and why is it continuing on, and how can I solve that? So I talked with the director of the honors program just like last week, actually, Dr. Stern. She was saying it's for the students who, yeah, they want to dig deep and they want to show that curiosity by continuously asking questions. And so when you apply to USD and we review your application, if we see that sort of curiosity of that research that you might have done in high school, of those ways that you're really trying to get to the root of an issue, we might invite you to apply for the honors program. There are a couple perks to the honors program. If you are accepted, you are in classes of more like 14 or 16 students instead of 22. You do research, as I mentioned earlier. You write a honors level thesis before you graduate. And you have a specific living learning community, which go down a couple bullet points. That's part of the first year experience. So living learning communities, known as LLCs, are essentially themed living areas that allow you to find a passion of yours and integrate it with your social and academic well-being. So for example, if you're a student who is very into environmental care, into sustainability, you might select the living learning community known as Cultivate. And so that means that, Maher Hall, that's one of our living areas right there, actually. Second floor is going to be all students who selected Cultivate. You are all unified by this theme of sustainability, of going green, of environmental care. You take a class that's related to it. You do group projects related to it. You get to have social events related to that as well. Maybe it's working in our community garden. Maybe it's doing a beach cleanup in Mission Bay. So you get all of this sort of integration of that living learning community with academics and with your social life. But it seems to be a highlight of a lot of our students' first year experience. And it even carries over because there is a 2-year on campus housing requirement for our students. So, Fallon, can you tell me a little bit about your experience in a living learning community and living on campus and enjoying the Torero life?
Yeah, of course. My living learning community was Advocate, and I say that all students are super biased, and say that theirs was the best, but I think mine was. My first living learn LLC class I took was acting, and so we combined social justice with being able to like speak up for yourself and kind of develop a stage presence, but also carry that stage presence into real life. And I think the best part of having that LLC class was that my professor was my academic advisor until I declared my major.
Yeah.
And that's how it is for every LLC class. And what's so great about that is that you're meeting with that professor 3 times a week. They're really understanding the type of person you are. You feel super comfortable going and talking to them.
Mhm.
And my advisor actually 2 weeks before registration, my first semester, emailed me saying, "Hey, I know that you're interested in these things. Um, please, you should register for these classes or look into them." And so it was just such a great way to know that USD was making sure that I was transitioning well academically, socially, and it was just ultimately a really great way to feel like USD had my back and like I was being prepared. And I think the last thing that was really great about the LLCs is that you're going to that class with students that are in floors around you or the buildings around you. And so what's so nice is that you have that sense of community just in your own living area and you get to see them all the time, and ultimately just create really strong bonds with them as well. And I think that I wouldn't have been friends with so many people my first year without my LLC class to kind of broaden my horizons.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, those living learning communities are a really fun piece, and getting to live with those students too. I feel like you find this community and actually find your sense of belonging at USD pretty early on. And we like to phrase that as Torero life and belonging at USD. Torero life, Toreros, that's our mascot. So I usually would ask if I could see you all. I'd be like, how many of you have heard of a Torero? Like, what does that mean? And so I like to distinguish that a Torero is a bullfighter. So you might be thinking of a matador right now. There are matadors and there are toreros. And I distinguish between the two because the matador will taunt the bull, with the red cape, and then they kill the bull. And the torero, we just taunt the bull. We never kill the bull. I make that very clear for all of our animal lovers out there like myself that we never hurt any animals. So we are fierce toreros. We are Division 1 in athletics. We are over 180 clubs and organizations are on campus. That number increases every year. We have fraternity and sorority life. If you're wanting to be a part of one of those, about 27% of our students participate in that. I love our club and intramural sports as well. Like we have football, basketball, soccer, but we also have a Quidditch team. We also have an inner tube water polo team. So it's water polo, except you sit in an inner tube the entire time. Like one of the best ways to enjoy the beautiful sunny weather of San Diego, which is another great point. I'm not sure where all of you are tuning in from, but San Diego itself is a remarkable city, the 8th largest city in the nation, of course, but it's a hub for career development, for the biotech industry. Our campus, where we are right now, is about 10 minutes away from Mission Beach. It's 10 minutes away from downtown. It's 15 minutes from the airport. It's 15 minutes from La Jolla. It's 25 minutes north of the border to Mexico. I mean, the fact that you can literally be in another country in 25 minutes is giving you this awareness of the world around you. And that comes with our natural geography, our location of being in San Diego, a remarkable spot to learn not only academically, but about yourselves and about the world around you. So Fallon, I know you've mentioned a few things that you were involved in, but how have you really embraced the Torero lifestyle and found your sense of belonging at USD?
Yeah, I think that you can you can choose to do something your freshman year and continue to do it all 4 years, and or you can even do multiple different clubs and organizations every single year, kind of change your experience as much as you want, add more things. I mentioned earlier I'm in a sorority. I wasn't in one my freshman year, decided to join one my sophomore year, and have absolutely loved the experience. But I like to say that it's an enhancement and not something that's super necessary. It's just a really great way to meet more people, which is what I wanted to do. But if you're interested in political clubs, community service clubs, we have so many cultural clubs, we have so many things for students to join. And if there isn't something that you found at our annual Alcala Bazaar, which is where all our clubs line up on the field and promote themselves, and you can sign up for them. If there's nothing there that interests you, it's so easy to start your own club. And because USD really just wants you to be able to do whatever you want and create a community there for yourself. But freshman year, I was involved in a community service club called Pancakes, Serving Up Hope. And so we would go downtown to San Diego, in downtown San Diego, and make pancakes for the homeless community down there. And so it's just a really great way to be able to meet people, get involved, and ultimately just try something new and explore San Diego.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. And I know you're super involved, so I'm sure you could keep going for hours and hours. But I do want to talk a little bit about this key part of our identity, which is change making, before we get into the application process. That's going to come in the next few minutes. But change making is a very important part of USD, because you'll see in the basically middle right of the screen that we are one of 45 change maker campuses in the entire world. And that means that we have an ongoing commitment to the 5 dash marks there: social justice, social innovation, entrepreneurship, sustainability, and making sure our students have a global perspective. And you'll see these themes come through in a variety of ways on campus. Maybe you're getting involved in the Changemaker Hub. Maybe, like I said earlier, you're really involved in your living learning community, and that focuses on sustainability. So you're working in the community garden, you're doing beach cleanups. Maybe you choose to study abroad. USD is ranked number 5 in the nation for our undergraduate study abroad participation. So about 80% of our students will study abroad at least one time. We have over 80 programs in 30 different countries. And in fact, we have a USD campus. It's called the Madrid Center. You guessed it, in Madrid, Spain. Imagine just a piece of USD plopped in over there, so you can go and take classes in another country, learn about the world around you, but have that USD TORERO community to support you as well. So we have so many options for you to go and see the world around you, not just the border to Mexico, 25 minutes south of us, but also through studying in another country. And we talk a lot about this change-making identity because we think it's important that you know we are looking for change makers. When I read through the application process, I'm looking for change makers, people who exhibit a few of these different topics that you see of social justice, social innovation, entrepreneurship, sustainability, and global perspective. However you embody those, we want to know about those on your application. And we'll break that down a little bit more in just about 2 slides. But I'm going to toss it over to Fallon one more time before we get into the application and say, Fallon, how do you see change making on campus, and how do you understand change making for yourself? Fallon, you still there?
Yeah, so yes, I'm still there. So with change making, I like to say that all students are change makers on campus, whether they know it or not. I think change making means something different to everyone on campus too. So for me as a business student this year especially, it's been really great being in my business and society class, because we've been talking about the range of systemic roots of issues and social change within business. And so through this, I've really understood kind of the change maker impacts that I can gain from USD, whether it's through innovation or entrepreneurship and sustainability, and being able to really understand that I have to be an active and engaged member of a community in order to really change my community at USD, and ultimately like the greater community of California and so on. And so it's just been really great being able to be involved in all of this and have the change maker mindset, not only academically, but socially through all the different clubs and like the Changemaker Hub that you can get involved in. So I've been really happy being able to be a proud change maker on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're happy to have you too. And speaking of that, we want to talk about how you can potentially join the TORERO community as well. So I'm going to take over a little bit about the application deadline just to make sure we go through logistics of our deadline, which you'll see right there of being December 15th. At USD, we only have one application deadline. So no early action, no early decision, just December 15th. And we usually receive between 13,000 and 14,000 applications, have about a 50% acceptance rate. You'll see that it's 57% last year. We did bump it up a little bit as we knew there was a lot going on in the world around us. And so we're really looking to admit students who wanted to be toreros, and we had about 1,000 students come and join us in our incoming first year class. In order for them to do that, they filled out all of the requirements that you see on the screen before you. If you're going to screenshot any screen in this presentation, I would recommend this one because it'll show you the common application, which is the application we use. It is exactly what it sounds like, an application that is common to about 900 universities throughout the United States. You can start building this out as early as your first year in high school. You write an essay for it. You answer some member questions. So for USD, we have specific questions that we ask about us. For example, how are you a change maker? Which living learning community might you want to live in? How do you support an inclusive and diverse environment? So those member questions change a little bit each year, but they show me you've done research on who we are as an institution. I'll also look at your high school transcripts. I want to see if you've taken honors classes, AB classes, IB classes, if your school offers them. And I also want to see an upward grade trend, that you've done really well in those courses and you're not giving up for senioritis or senior year. Also, we want an academic letter of recommendation. This can come from a counselor or a teacher. We prefer it to come from a counselor. It can also come from a teacher, and you can submit multiple if you wish. For our international applicants that might be tuning in, we do require the TOEFL with a minimum score of 80 or the IELTS with a minimum score of 6.5. And then finally, an application fee of $55. Now, if you're very observant, you might notice that you do not see a checkbox here for test scores. We no longer require test scores, or the SAT or ACT, to apply to USD. In fact, we are a test-blind university, meaning that we don't want you to submit them because we're really looking at the whole package that you bring. So this is our kind of factors that we look at when we're looking for students. We look at your academics, as I mentioned, your GPA, your grades, the course curriculum that you've taken, the rigor of it, and how you're performing. I've given you a breakdown here of the percentage of students that have in between specific GPAs per our fall 2020 class. So in case you wanted to see kind of how you lined up. But I'm also looking so fully into the changemaker qualities. That's why we spent so much time on that slide, because I want to see leadership you've shown, global perspective that you have, social justice in which you've engaged. Are you a person of faith, and what role has that played in your life? And also, what about community service? In which ways have you interacted with the local and global communities around you? And finally, I'm looking at your personal qualities through that letter of recommendation that was submitted and the essay that you also write. That essay is one of my favorite things to read, a great way to get a snapshot of who you are. So take your time with it and know that we're looking for change makers, those who are going to do well in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And let's say that eventually, or you're thinking about transferring, or maybe it doesn't work out the first time and you want to transfer. I won't spend too much time on this slide because we have a couple minutes left and I have a few slides, but I want you to see that the eligibility requirements are a bit different, at least a 3.0 cumulative college GPA, and then at least 24 transferable units. And then also our deadlines are different. So if you're applying for the fall term, it would be March 1st. And if you're applying for the spring term, it would be October 1st. This is a great process to talk through with someone. We have a transfer admission counselor named Andrew Espiritu. You can find his information online, or we can chat it out to you, but it's a great way to talk about that transfer process. Regardless if you come in as a first year or a transfer student, we want to make sure that investing in this education is worthwhile and a healthy choice for you and your family. So I want to really quickly talk about our scholarship and financial aid opportunities. But we have to start with the cost of attendance. How much does it cost to go to USD? Our tuition this year is $52,120. And to live and eat on campus, known as room and board, it estimates at about $15,000. So your total estimated cost at USD is $67,000 per year. And that is a big price tag. We want to recognize that that's an investment for a family. That's oftentimes needing to be padded by financial aid, financial assistance, scholarships. So let's talk about how 76% of our students receive financial aid at USD. They receive it through merit scholarships, which are awarded by the Office of Undergraduate Admission. We will hand out scholarships between $18,000 and $25,000 to usually about the top 40% of our admitted class. They're able to, as we review the application, we look for those change makers and say, hey, you're doing really well in our applicant pool. So when you get your acceptance letter, you'll receive a notification of that merit scholarship. We also have university scholarships for like singing in choir, playing a Division I sport, doing ROTC, maybe studying a specific major at USD. That department could give you a scholarship. We also have outside scholarships. You can find these on our website. but they're local Rotaries, organizations, community support systems that want to help our students with $500, $1,000, $2,000 in aid because you write an extra essay or do some community service. And then finally, need-based financial aid. The FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. You can submit this if you want to. The priority deadline is March 2nd of your senior year, but it's a great way for you to showcase what your family can afford and the government saying, hey, USD costs $67,000. Our forms say you can afford $20,000. So how are we going to make up the difference there through scholarships, loans, Parent Plus loans, and more? And another big piece of this is Raise.me. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of this before, but Raise.me is an excellent way to earn micro scholarships by just adding your achievements. You really don't have to do anything besides say, hey, I was the president of this club. I got an A in this class. I played this sport and I'm the captain of the varsity team. And when you add those achievements in, you earn scholarships for them. You can discover colleges because plenty of colleges are on this platform, including USD. And we use it to award money because we want to encourage students to really push into those key traits we want to see in applicants. Hint, the change maker qualities that we've mentioned earlier. All right, this is my last slide here as we talk about scholarly and professional success, just making sure you know that investing in the education is worth it because we want you to get to the next step. We love you being on campus with us, but of course there are things that come after USD. So our Career Development Center will work with you to make sure you get internships, that you partake in networking events, that you're jumping onto a career readiness program to connect with alumni in all states and all over the world. And that forward thinking works. In fact, you can see that 91.7% of our students are employed in graduate school or in a full-time service program within 6 months of graduating. And 95% of our students receive their first job offer within 3 months of graduating. One step further, the very blue portion of that bottom pie chart, 77% of our students receive their first full-time job offer before they even graduate from USD. So know that we're thinking ahead, we're forward thinkers, and we're really looking for your professional success. And so we want to make sure that you are set and ready to go. Now, if you want to keep connecting with us, I'm putting up a screen here if you want to follow us on social media, or you can see a QR code there in the top right. But while you're taking a picture of that or looking at those websites, Fallon, I was wondering if you could just give us a 30-second blurb on some advice that you wish you knew when you were a senior. What would you want to share with our applicants out there?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of a college decision process is being able to take a step back and realize that everything is going to happen the way it should and that everything will turn out okay. I know that when I was a senior, I had absolutely no idea where I wanted to go to school, what I wanted to major in, had no clue. And I think ultimately, really just looking around at the community on campus.
Mhm.
An idea that you will. Can you still hear me?
I can. It's a little uneven, but that's all right. You're doing great.
Just I think the best advice is to be able to picture yourself there and make sure that no matter why you choose it, that you'll be happy there. If you could change your major every day and still be happy on that campus, that is the place that you should be. Hopefully it's USD, but if not, we do understand. But I wish you the best of luck in all your college
Yes.
endeavors.
All right. Thanks, Fallon. I appreciate you sticking with us, and all those out there who are viewing, we really appreciate you tuning in. I know you might have some questions, so I'd encourage you to send an email to the general inbox of USD, which is admissions@sandiego.edu. Again, that's admissions@sandiego.edu. Or that QR code that I was showing earlier is a great way to connect with us because you can take a tour, you can jump on the TORERO Ambassador Network, you can chat with current students and all sorts of things just to get a better scoop. But thanks so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate you spending some time with us during today's presentation, and we wish you all the best in your next steps. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're done.